Now let's talk a bit about politics. Decision 2008, potentially key development this morning in a crucial primary state of New Hampshire. In a new Marist poll, Barack Obama making a serious dent in Hillary Clinton's lead. He now trails her by 11 points among New Hampshire Democrats. The gap stood at 21 points just last month. Meanwhile, among Republicans, Mitt Romney holding a strong lead now ahead of Rudy Giuliani by 11 points, up from a 6-point edge in the last Marist poll. With me now is Emily Heil. She writes the column Heard on the Hill with Roll Call newspaper that tracks Capitol Hill. Emily, thanks for joining us again this morning.
I'm glad to be here, Tamron.
So your take on the Democratic race in New Hampshire, in light of these numbers, what do you think changed with voters to reflect this difference in the numbers now?
Well, the race significantly tightened up, particularly on the Democratic side, and some of that just has to do with pure timing. You know, as the New Hampshire gets closer, voters are getting more serious about making an actual decision. So it's not surprising that it would tighten up just because of the timing. You're also seeing Hillary Clinton, losing a lot of advantage, and some of the benefit going to Barack Obama, who's at her heels. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that has to do with some of the stepped-up rhetoric that Barack Obama has been using of late. And clearly Clinton's campaign had some missteps, which was very rare, and there was some negative press afterwards, and that's been, almost non-existent in her entire campaign thus far.
It's interesting because we ended the work week with people wondering if Barack Obama had made a misstep at commenting on the generation gap, that there was the implication that Hillary Clinton might be too old to fight this fight. And then there was the question whether Bill Clinton was hurting Hillary and that he took responsibility for the health care debacle, as some describe it as, when she was First Lady. You mentioned the rhetoric from Obama, but the question I have for you is, do you think that the Bill factor is coming into play here?
Well, it's interesting. Bill Clinton, just like Hillary Clinton, comes with a lot of baggage, a lot of negatives and a lot of positives. So it's interesting to see the campaign try to figure out how to use him to Hillary's advantage. In some ways, it's like having, a second Hillary Clinton, and she can be in two places at once, which is sort of the dream of any campaign manager in a campaign. But, he does have negatives that come with him, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Let's talk about the GOP side. Mitt Romney ahead in New Hampshire at this point. How worried is his campaign about the inability to translate that into the national success?
Well, it's interesting. Romney has really done well in Iowa and New Hampshire, and he's focusing on those two states, thinking that success in those states will translate nationally into better numbers nationally, where Giuliani is doing better currently. So he's going that well-worn path to the nomination. Iowa and New Hampshire. You can't overlook how important those states are.
I want to ask you about the big picture with the Republican nomination. Again, a lot of people thought this Bernard Carrick scandal would have a negative reflection on Rudy Giuliani. The pundits are all saying that this is not sticking and has not hurt Rudy Giuliani. But what is your outlook for this, the GOP race?
Well, it'll be interesting. I really think that clearly it's becoming much more of a Giuliani-Romney fight, as these sort of other tier candidates are sort of peeling away. But I think the interesting thing to keep an eye on in the GOP race is where the Christian conservatives are. Clearly, they don't love either one of the front runners. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of a factor they are in that race.
Well, we can clarify that by saying Pat Robertson, though, loves Rudy Giuliani. So
that's right.
There it is.
That's
said.
right. That's true.
Thank you very much, Emily.